Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. I'm Isa. I'll be your host. Thank you so much for joining us. We're excited to show you how to modernize your data platform and unleash the full potential of AI. Now, before we get started, we have a few housekeeping rules for today. So, first is the session is being recorded. So we'll send the recording link and slide deck to all registrants after the webinar. You can drop your questions in the Q&A box anytime. We'll address them during our Q&A at the end. Make sure to stick around until the end to learn more about our special offers just for the attendees. Speaking of those offers, here's what you'll be eligible for as a thank you for attending. You receive a blueprint document to help you start modernizing your data estate using Microsoft Fabric. Qualified participants will also be eligible for a special POC offer to jumpstart your Fabric implementation or building AI agents with Copilot Studio. Now, let's meet our speakers. Chad Nguyen, our technology leader for AI and data analytics, brings over 20 years of experience in oil and gas, retail, and logistics. He specializes in building scalable data infrastructures and is passionate about implementing data foundation to harness the power of AI. And Alok Pant, CEO of Unvired, has over 25 years of experience in leading digital transformation projects and business consulting. Today, we'll be tackling hopefully, a few key takeaways that will be learned from this event. First is we want to learn how to architect a strong data foundation using Microsoft Fabric. Also learn about Microsoft Copilot connectors or Copilot Studio and blueprint to kickstart your own data modernization journey. So here are the agenda for today. We'll tackle key data challenges and show how Microsoft Fabric's unified SaaS platform streamlines analytics. We'll cover domains, workspaces, AD groups, and Purview Hub to build a governed AI-ready foundation, plus review licensing options. With that in place, we'll explore Microsoft 365 Copilot semantic search, building AI agents in Copilot Studio, and integrating with systems like SAP via Copilot connectors. With that, I guess let me hand over to you, Alok.
Thank you. Isa, can you move to the next slide, please?
Sure.
All right. So I'm going to just take no more than 2 minutes to give you just some background on Unwired, and then we'll dive right away into the Fabric content. So we are a company headquartered in Houston, Texas, an SAP certified partner, and our focus is really data, AI, and applications, right? So we live at the intersection of those three pillars. And some of our solutions are in the data management space, include helping you with data governance, data analytics, apps, generative AI apps. So the experience we want to share with you today is actually based on the work we've been doing. Next slide, please. So over the years, we've been recognized by Gartner for some of the products that we have developed. IDC has given us awards for our customer success stories, and we've got several certifications from SAP. So just goes to show that our customer success has been recognized by the market out there. Next slide, please. Yeah, just to give you a flavor. So far we've been, a lot of our solutions have been geared towards the industrial verticals. So chemicals, oil and gas, manufacturing, and you can see some of the logos of our customers there. But with our data offering is truly a horizontal offering. So it cuts across all verticals. So next slide, please. And I just want to highlight a couple of our differentiators. So, all of our customers are happy reference customers. Many of them are on the call today. And, we have actually, built AI agents. We've got them certified by partners like SAP. We've implemented Fabric. So whatever today we will share is going to be based on the work we have done. So we like to think we are, like Nike, just do it kind of company. So just like to do stuff and share that. So next slide, please. Okay, so with that, I'm going to hand over to Chad. But before I hand over to Chad, just want to highlight a point here that Today, you'll be, getting a lot of information about Fabric, starting from data ingestion to semantic modeling to Power BI and all those things, right? Lakehouse, warehouse. We understand that, there's going to be a lot of concepts, and it could get overwhelming. So what we have done is we prepared a blueprint document, which we will share with all of you. And the idea there is that it is not a PhD thesis. It's not what you can get from ChatGPT, because we can all do that. This document is something that where you can just sit down and start implementing your Fabric instance, in a step-by-step fashion. So you will get that. So that will give you an opportunity to implement what you learn during this webinar. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to you, Chad. If you can share your knowledge of Fabric with the audience today, that would be great.
All right, thank you, Alok, for the everyone for the introduction. So on this slide right here, it's just some high-level setting what happened in the data space, in the past 20 years or so. So on the left, you see the traditional approach, and then on the right would be the modern needs. So when I look at traditional approach, it's not really an approach, but more of a symptoms of what happened, of the business need, right? So you see like fragmented data silo. It's not like, people intended to be fragmented in their data silos, but it's basically stemmed from the need for data and reports to really make decisions. So organization would try to find a data solution that fit for purpose, have a fast MVP, quick MVP, right? So when there's a need for data to make a good decision, people will do whatever it takes to get the data to make decision. So these are the symptoms of that phenomenon, right? So you see fragmented data silo, manual integrations because they need to move fast. And because of that, and once you have multiple groups, fighting to get data, then you will see like a high maintenance cost within the organizations, slow decision making, and of course, a separate security models because everyone is doing things differently. Now, when we go into the modern world, in nowadays, that approach does not work anymore, right? You have like high data velocity, volume, and variety. Example of variety would be, your structured data from your operation database, from your ERP databases, and then you got unstructured data from documentation, from tweet, from Instagram, Facebook, whatnot, when your company from X. So you will deal with all this data. So you have high velocity, high volume, and high variety of stuff. And you need a place like a unified data platform to integrate with all these data, right? So the integration of all this data has to be, seamless, easy to use. And when you have all of that, a unified platform with a seamless integration that all the data can play with each other, it will obviously translate to lower your total cost of ownership, right? I guess the goal here is as you add more capabilities, more needs to your organizations, your cost does not, exponentially increase because of that. So you have a platform, as you add more, you increase the cost just a little bit just spend a little bit of time to add in any data need, any data analytic needs for all your organizations. And of course, real-time insight. Everybody wants that right now. And with everything going on, you need a strong data governance and security foundations. I've seen in organizations when this can get out of hand once you've got so many users getting onto the platform and start using data to make decisions. Next slide. Okay. So with all that challenges and all those needs and the modern needs, Microsoft has stepped up with Fabric. I think compare Fabric solution to others. I think they are the only one that have like a complete unified SaaS-based data platform, right? And when you talk with Microsoft people, they are very proud of this innovation, this Fabric innovation. And many of them, they say it's like, when they invented Microsoft SQL Server, this is like 20, 30 years ago, right? And this development, this innovation by Microsoft is on the same, on the same pedestal. It's very, very important for Microsoft. A single environment for all your data needs, okay, with Fabric, and AI power. So everything that you do within Microsoft Fabric, you can always leverage Microsoft Copilot, which is in a way they're using OpenAI, data AI model. All right. So really, the value proposition, to make it short, a simplified single platform, one experience, a unified end-to-end data integrations, and it is a SaaS cloud-based native advantage. All right. So, so Microsoft has been in the data space, as long as I remember, 20, 30 years, probably more than 30 years. They always provide like data, enterprise data warehouses. They provide like analysis services. They come out with a number of visualization tools over the years. So they've done this a lot, and they listen to their customers and all that. So with Fabric, this is what on the left side, you see that, the specification. These are the things that their customers need: deployment model, tools, how do you store your data, the user experience, collaborations, and governance. And of course, in the last 10 years or so, AI and ML integration become the forefront, right? So traditional, this is, in the middle column, this is what Microsoft provided before. They have, platform as a service. So you can go out and subscribe to like, Data Factory, Azure Data Lake, whatnot, right? You provision like a data warehouse, right? With Fabric, you have a full managed solution, SaaS with zero infrastructure management. Okay, let's talk about tools. Again, ADF. Okay, you got management studio that you need to run. Let's say you got like some storage, right? Here, all functionality, all the tool in one single place. Storage layer, you might have multiple data lake account. You might have AWS storage account. You might have shared drive, from multiple places. SharePoint. In one lake, you can have everything unified under one lake, shared by all the workloads. And this one lake is really, really impressive because it's not really copying. What it's doing is logically group these data together. And when you look it through the lens of Fabric, you see like it's a one single place, but in effect, they're like shortcuts and shared by others. So replication is minimized within one lake. So this is a key innovation that not many people can do this, right? Of course, user experience with a single platform and all the tools fit under that, you have a similar single UI, consistent UX, okay? Common tool, common user experience, facilitate collaboration by everyone in the company. And all of that is underpinned by a governance that provided by Microsoft Purview, okay? That can see everything, top to bottom to see. It can track, you can see like all the items, all the artifacts within Fabric that track its usages. It can track, the computing usages for different workload, all right? And the last point here is the AI and ML integration. Within Fabric, your data scientists can come in and use all the data, run the experiment, build a model, and deploy the model right within Microsoft Fabric, right? Without copying and using different tools for different purposes. And of course, there's Copilot. So when data scientists, they work with Python and Notebook, and Copilot is right there with them, right? They can ask Copilot for code. that they can copy and paste into their notebook and run. So it makes things a lot simpler. I'm pretty sure that you guys have gone into the web and research and to find out what is Microsoft Fabric. So in this picture right here, you see, the one lake box that cover everything. And underneath that, you see like workspace, two workspaces, one called execution, the other one called architecture. Now, the architecture is something that, many of you, if you go online and search, you will see this box right there with all the different experience and all these tools sitting like that with all these icons. Now, when it comes to us, we have a simple view called the execution. And within the execution, these are the stuff that we use. All right. So we use a lakehouse, we use a warehouse, and then we use a data pipeline to transform all the data within the lakehouse and make it available within the warehouse and the data model. Okay. So the data pipelines, and then you see the data model. Those are the, I would say, like golden data that could be used for Power BI reports. And then, of course, the reports underneath that. So that is our view of Microsoft Fabric. We make it simple without, because oftentimes, Microsoft will just throw, all the tools at you, and it's hard for you to decide, which one should I use to do what. So this is the execution is our view of everything. And then you will see here you see one lake, and then within one lake, you got multiple workspaces that you work with. And of course, underpin the whole thing at the bottom is Microsoft Purview Hub that can monitor and see everything. All right, so this is even more detailed view of what's going on. So, if you compare with the previous slide, we got you see the execution space, workspace, and then you see, I guess, the architecture. Now we're going to go detail more into the execution part of Fabric One. So again, under Fabric One Lake, you see a box called domain. I didn't talk about that on the last slide, but within the domain, we can organize, multiple workspaces. So here I have three distinctive workspaces that play different roles. You've got the data workspace, you got the sandbox workspace, and then you got the main workspace, and they each plays a different role. Before I go deep into it, and I want to point out SAP is an ERP system with data we pull into one lake through the gateway and data connections, and that data will get ingested into the lakehouse, right? So in addition to that, at the bottom left, you can see all these are data sources that sit in AWS, in Google, and blob data or data lake account. You can get all of that data into a workspace within one lake, into the lakehouse, and then from there you will make it available to multiple domains and multiple workspaces without having to copy. And then here you can see the solid arrow and the dotted arrows. The solid arrow is a replication. The dotted would be the shortcut, right? So basically, it's a link to the source data without copying. However, within the one lake environment, when you see that data, even though it's a shortcut, it looks as if it is sitting copied within one lake, and then you can do many things with it, right? So let's spend some time on the within the domain. An example here we call it supply chain management. We got three workspaces. We got the data workspace, the sandbox, and the main. So within data, this is where we ingest the data. We do all the processing. We send the data from the lakehouse into the warehouse, which is the Go layer. Then using the data model for that processing, we get that into the data model, the Go. This is where the user can go in and connect with Power BI or any of the visualization tool that you might have, like Tableau, for example. You can connect to that data and do your presentations. So that's why the data workspace is there within the supply chain domain. And then within the main workspace here, I would have the main data model and I have the reports. This is the governed report within the domain. This is the area. Let's say the supply chain department want to show a dashboard, a KPI. So it make it available within main. And now all the other user, throughout it's become the official version of the data, right? And now within the workspace, this is very interesting, man. And I've been in many organizations. I mean, sometimes organizations ignore that and let people do their own thing. But here we say, hey, we're gonna give you guys a sandbox. For the people within this domain, you guys can have the sandbox and play with it and experiment, play with changing the model, creating new report, test it out. And once within the sandbox has become, get adoption, then we can help them move into the main workspace and share with everybody else. So this is how Unvired organize our execution. Next slide.
So Chad, before you go there, let's spend a minute or half a minute on domain. So if I'm a company, I would probably have different domains in Fabric for my HR department, supply chain, production,
Yes.
And within each domain there are workspaces. Is that how this implemented?
Yes. Yeah. So I mean, in this
Just
slide right
clarifying.
here, it goes straight into that,
Okay.
right? So
Perfect.
so within a domain, you can have multiple domains within your company, like a finance, supply chain management, production, HR, you name it. I mean, it depends on how you can organize it by business function. You can organize it by business line or even business process, right? But again, it serves the reason we have domain because we want to carve out and call out ownership, right? We want to have a clear ownership of that data, that management. So that's one reason we have the domains. Now, for workspaces, within each domain there are workspaces for data artifacts. And the data artifacts would be the lakehouse, the warehouse, the semantic data model, right? All the reports, and then all the data pipelines. So all these are the things, these are the artifacts within the workspaces, okay? And with once any data land inside a workspace, that data becomes available within the one lake environment. Okay, so one lake environment is, if you can think of it as a logical space for all your data. And before it lands into the one lake, it's got to sit inside a workspace. That makes sense, right? Now, in order to manage all these access and permissions, and you got to have a good user authentication and authorization. So we use Azure Azure Active Directory using groups, right, to manage all the access and permission. Okay, single sign-on and role-based access, and of course, Microsoft Purview Hub at the bottom to really allow you to monitor and to make sure data is classified correctly. Is it labeled? Is it properly endorsed? So it provide lineage tracking, sensitivity labeling, and it's allowed you to set up some policy for data protection and things like that, and all integrated within Microsoft Fabric. So in terms of licensing, if you can just click on to all the pieces here. All right. Okay. So here so in order to to use Fabric, you got two kinds of licensing. You got the Fabric license, and then you got Power BI license. So many of you have come from the world of Power BI years ago, and there was no Fabric. You just use Power BI, you publish into Power BI service, and you start sharing with people, right? So now with Fabric come in, and it serves two different purposes. Okay, so with Fabric's license, what does it give you? It gives you the computing power to run your data workloads. When you take raw data and process that raw data from bronze layer to the silver layer to the gold layer and do all kinds of transformation, it needs computing power, right? So that's where per capacity license comes in. Power BI, on the other hand, is a tool that you use to build reports, visualization, data report, data dashboard. And one of the functions that it serves, right? So this Power BI license and Fabric licensing, play hand in hand with each other. So in essence, this is what it is. If your Fabric license is big, then you don't need Power BI license to view it, okay? If your Fabric license is on a lower tier, then you would need a Power BI license just to view the data. Okay, so that's the key thing we need to, and of course I have some costs here. It's shown up here. So here this slide speaks about Microsoft Copilot. So if you're using Microsoft Copilot to look at your email, your document, and your Teams and all this meeting, you're using that you call Copilot. It has that purpose. Now Fabric has its own Copilot, and the Fabric Copilot is really the Copilot needed for for specific purposes, right? It's basically, help data professional build, analyze, and visualize data. So the audience here would be data analysts, data engineers, data scientists, BI developers, right? And core grounding of that data would be the warehouse, the KQL, and Power BI data sets, right? The Copilot within Fabric, with all these roles, you got to have like certain skill, like Python and SQL, for example, right? Power Query to actually leverage a Copilot. You need to know how to use it. I think I don't have to speak about on the Microsoft 365 Copilot. You can use that just like ChatGPT. You point that to your document repository and ask questions, basically.
So yeah,
Yep.
so as I said, we've been a lot of these learnings have come from our customers, success stories here. So this is a manufacturing company. We've implemented Fabric, and we don't need to talk about this. We'll send you these slides. Let's dive to the demo, Chad. Remember, we'll get a blueprint document. We also have a special POC offer to.
Okay,
Hopefully you won't need us. We'll give you the blueprint, but if you need help, we are here. Let's get to the demo.
All right.
Yep.
So what I have here, so earlier I talked about the execution part. So what you're looking at are 3 workspaces, and I named them SCM, Supply Chain Management Data, Main, and Sandbox. Okay? And let's see what's inside the sandbox. Okay. So inside the sandbox, I have something called the lakehouse. I have something called the warehouse. So the lakehouse is the silver. Okay, no, I'm sorry. The lakehouse is the bronze layer, and I'm going to quickly go into the lakehouse to see what it looks like. Okay, so the lakehouse, you see the warehouse, and then you see the data model. I have a folder called data pipelines, and within data pipelines, I have a number of artifacts that help me with the transformation and move the data from lakehouse to warehouse, from the warehouse to the data model. So this is a simple view of that. Okay, let's go back here. Okay, now I'm going to go into the lakehouse to show you guys what's there. Okay, so this is the lakehouse. And then within the lakehouse, you have a section called files and then a section called tables. And then within this, I can see within the classic model, I can see a number of CSV files right here. Okay, this is how I ingest all this. And then you can use a data pipeline. So even if you have data that constantly changing within a folder or even like a database, it will land in here. And Microsoft provide like tons of connectors for you to land the data into your file. And again, you are within the lakehouse. And then within the lakehouse, there's a section called the tables. And then within the tables, you have the schema. And the schema, you have all these tables, okay? And unlike a typical, database, you don't see like views and store procedure or anything like that. It's just organized in a way that, help you discover data. So when I click on this, I can see the data, right? And these are the raw tables landing from all these files, right? So this is the lakehouse, okay? And then let me show you now, once the data is landing to the lakehouse, how did we even, get it from the file section to the table? So with that, I'm going to show you the notebook. Okay, if I can find it. Okay. So this is my notebook right here. And this notebook is linked to the data within the lakehouse. And here I have a number of, if you guys are familiar with Python, I use Python to do all the transformation. And how I call in from different libraries. Panda is something very popular. You can actually use it right in here, right? Notebook utilities, these are Microsoft available here that we can also use, okay? And if you look at all of that, it's pretty straightforward because that's what Python is. It has tons of library and you can write very little code and then you can, transform your data, okay? So this thing, so the very last step right here, it takes the file, the data in the file sections, okay? And then this step right here, it's saved into the table section of the lakehouse. All right, so that's that. So now at the lakehouse level, once so we're still in the bronze layer, right? The medallion model. How do I move this data from the bronze layer to the silver layer? And the silver layer sits in the warehouse. So I'm gonna go into the warehouse. So when you look at the warehouse, it looks like a traditional, enterprise data warehouse. Or if you don't have that experience, you can look at the schema. I have one DBO schema, and under the schema, I can see tables. Okay. If I have views, there's some views here. If I have function and store procedures, it's here, right? So this is your warehouse. And then what did I do to move the data from the lakehouse to the warehouse? So now I'm going to take you into, I'm using a different tool. Instead of using a notebook, I'm using data flow Gen 2, okay? So here the data Gen 2, and if you guys are familiar with Power BI using Power Query, this is exactly what it is, okay? It has all these steps. I pulled in all these tables from the lakehouse, and I go through all the steps to transform. Let's look at, orders, order details, and then I go into, and then from there I landed to, where is my back to order? Okay, so this is my order, and here I combine, right? Combine the data from the order table and the order details into the facts. So essentially what I'm doing is, I transform from a transactional data model into a star schema. And if you work with data, star schema is the best way to organize your data for analytics, right? So that's exactly what we're doing, right? So I take all these steps with all these tables and then combine it into a few DIMs and a few facts, right? So if now using this, and here I'm going to the warehouse, and then here I can show you the tables. And these tables are here because of the data flow Gen 2 that I process from the lakehouse into the warehouse. And then you can see, like, I have, a couple facts table and 3 DIMS table, where in the lakehouse you see like 8 or 9 tables, right? You want to transform from the online, from the transactional into the star schema. And what I have here is a star schema. And then from here, I go into the data model, okay? Data model is what you guys, and this is what I call the goal layer of the medallion architecture. This is where you use the data to build all your reports. I'm going to quickly go in here to show you what that looks like. Pulls up. All right, so I can make it smaller here. So here you can see the fact table, and it linked to the dimensions, the customer dimensions, the product dimensions, and the date dimensions, right? And I have another fact table here. This fact table is linked to the customer dimensions, and I have a number of standalone tables. Okay, so this is the data model that I will use to build all the reports needed. Okay, so now that I have it there, I'm going to quickly show what that looked like. I know we kind of run out of time.
Chad, let's take 30 seconds, wrap it up, then we'll have to take questions.
So right seconds. Here, you're looking at the final product. Okay. Using the semantic model, all the data go through from the lakehouse to the warehouse to the data model. Now you actually have a KPI dashboard using that data right here in front of you. So that I can quickly show you kind of the end-to-end. Now I spoke a little bit about why do we have the different workspaces within a domain, right? And I'm going to quickly show you one workspace. Let's look at the data workspace. Okay. Yep. Yeah. Okay. Within the data workspace, I'm going to look at manage access here. Now, if you look at here, if you look at the access, and I know some of you have experience with Power BI, you notice there's no individual name here at all. What I have are all these are 80 groups, right? And it's being managed by 80 group. So with our playbook, we will have instruction and provide detailed instruction how to implement these authentication and access to give people the proper role to do their job. But at the same time, we want to protect the companies from, protect people from getting access to too much data to do things, right? So you can see all these
Chad, let's move over to questions now. I don't know, Isa, can you read the questions aloud, please? The text questions that have come up. Thank you.
Yeah, we got a lot of people. Yeah.
Yes, we actually have one here from Bill. Can MS Fabric be used with LLMs other than Copilot?
So currently it is not, right? So now it's not like something Microsoft hasn't thought about. There's a lot of publications by Microsoft, addressing this very specific questions, and I think they are working to actually integrate, the LM. Let's say if you have data in your, a repository of your PDF files, right? How do you incorporate together with the Tableau data here, right? With structured data to actually, respond to your question, to your query more intelligently. So I think it's just a matter of time before it's be available. But at the same time, Microsoft is developing, I guess, on the Microsoft 365 Copilot. It's kind of separate using LLM model, right? Kind of separate track with Fabric. But in short, it's not available now, but it will be. I'm pretty confident.
Okay. Thank you, Chad. What about this one? For different access within a domain, for example, finance, how is the security profile per user managed when some finance can see data A but not B, and some finance can see B and C but not A?
Yeah, so when this is like, and let me quickly see if I can show you like the playbook that I have, right? So here, this is, so here I have like, let's look at this one, for example. I know it's a lot of text, but this is the playbook that we put together, right? So we got like, a supply chain domain, and within that domain, we got the workspace that you saw earlier, the data workspace, the main workspace, and the sandbox workspace. And then at the same time, we have all these 80 groups. And you will notice that 80 group, we got like admin, we got developer, we got data science, and I see something called all, right? All means that these people, they can have access to across multiple domains. That, right? What does that mean? And then I have something kind of unique within supply chain management domain. So it has its own domain, it has its own builder, it has its own viewer and analyst. So these viewer and analysts can view and access data. They cannot not access the data workspace, but they can access the main to view it, and they can access the sandbox to play with the data, right? And then
so Chad, let's address the other questions also. So in short, can we say that we manage this via Active Directory and whatever roles and privileges carry over to Fabric, correct?
Absolutely. So not only
and we can answer that question in more detail also. I want to address all the questions. So let's go to the next question, Isa.
Sure.
So I mean, like there was a comment about like, hey, what if I'm a single, I'm one individual and I need access to, supply chain, and I need access to operation data and access to finance. How do I handle that, right? So we and within a playbook we have like a role of a data scientist or like an analyst, and the analyst, they kind of sit alone with their own workspace outside of a domain. Okay, think about it, sitting outside of domain, and they are given access by the domain owner for their data. And once they get access, then they can pull all that data, let's say from HR, from finance, from supply chain, into that personal workspace. I mean, not necessarily a personal workspace, but a workspace that's not being managed within a domain, so they can start doing an experiment and do things with it, right? So the way we
Thanks. Let's move to the next question. I'm the timekeeper. Sorry. Next question, so we can address people. As many. Yeah, go ahead.
Sure. Yeah. So how are the CSVs in the Lakehouse obtained? Are the data extras from existing SQL databases? How do you use this if you have existing SQL DBs? And how would you rather not use CSVs?
How would you rather use it?
And
yes.
would rather
so
not,
so in the example I show you like CSV file, right? But if you do it right, you want to connect it to your database, like Oracle database, SQL Server, or HANA database, whatnot. You can connect to it to the provided connector for Fabric, and you can ingest that data into a format called Parquet. Okay. Now the Parquet format is very special. It's this open source, and it's a columnar type of database, organized. It compresses the data, but at the same time, it's perfectly optimized for analytics. All right. So you can land your data within the Lakehouse, like the file section of the Lakehouse, as Parquet. And even if you look under the warehouse, underneath that warehouse, and you see the format of all this table in the warehouse, it's all Parquet. So I don't know if that answered your questions. But in short, if you got a database source system, it will land into the Lakehouse, the bronze layer, as Parquet to the connector.
And Chad, we'll get back to people certainly after the webinar. So any more questions?
Okay, one last question before we end. Can this be integrated with data in AWS Snowflake and use MS services against that data, such as Purview?
Yeah, so through the shortcut, and I know Microsoft does not have shortcut to everything, but I do know they have shortcut to AWS S3, okay, and like Google data, and of course like blob data and things like that. So if your data sit in AWS through the shortcut, not copying, through the shortcut, it can be linked back into your Fabric, right? As long as that data sit within a workspace, right? I mean, I explained earlier, within a workspace, you have a lakehouse, and then from that lakehouse, you have a shortcut to that data in AWS, for example, and now that data is visible in one lake as if it is replicated and native to the one lake. I hope that answered the questions.
All right. Of course, if they have any follow-up questions, we'll be reaching out to you guys. And
are there any other questions, or have we gone through all the questions?
Yes. We have a few questions in the Q&A box.
Go ahead.
We can keep going. I mean, So let's keep going.
And I just want to mention to everyone, so in case if you're not able to answer during this session, we'll follow up with you. We'll answer to your queries, and we can also set up one-to-one calls, so we can discuss in detail and answer all your queries.
That's right.
And we do recognize people may have to drop off. We respect your time, but we are going to keep answering the questions. So please stay back if you want to listen to your answers right now. So let's keep going, Isa.
Okay. So Sheil, I don't have access to the Q&A box, but can you assist me?
Yes. So I can read the questions. So is there a need to prepare data specifically to use the Copilot, or can it leverage the already established model in Lakehouse or Warehouse?
So, I mean, the Copilot within Microsoft Fabric is kind of unique to that experience, right? When you are in Notebook, that Copilot there is kind of conducive within what you do within a notebook. So you can ask questions regarding Python or SQL, right? And then once you are in, let's say, Dataflow Gen 2, when the Copilot there will answer your questions about Power Query and stuff like. So it kind of but I mean, it cannot access documentation like a PDF file, if you will. It does not. And within the semantic model that used for Power BI, you can ask questions about that data. And I mean, I wouldn't say that it is as good as Copilot or OpenAI type of, there's still a lot of work to be done there. A lot of opportunities, but I think Microsoft has given us the taste, but I'm sure that that area is growing.
Okay.
Yeah.
There is another question. How are these data and Copilot LLMs are separated?
Repeat the questions, please.
How are these data and Copilot LLMs are separated?
They are, the data here that we're looking at within Fabric, it's all within the one lake, right? And then the data within the one lake is, reside within a workspace within Fabric, correct? Now, the Copilot side outside of Fabric, it doesn't even, it doesn't touch the, I guess the one lake data, right? So there, like the LM model of Microsoft 365, it look at your SharePoints, it look at your share drive, whatnot. Now, if you want to, does Microsoft have a way to make the data from Fabric available for the LM? Yes. So, there's Microsoft Graph with connector that allows you to connect to the data within the one lake and make it available as part of your LM. So it is.
So
there.
let me jump in here, Chad, and
Yeah.
that reminds me, we didn't talk much about Copilot, but we do have, Microsoft has, the graph connectors. It has the agents you can build with Copilot Studio, by which you can connect your other data sources to Copilot. And we are going to have another webinar on Copilot connectors, graph connectors, and Copilot Studio. So let's hold that discussion for another webinar. Any more questions on Fabric?
Yes,
we can answer. Yeah,
it's again related to Copilot. Do you have any demo how to use Copilot within Fabric?
Oh, within Fabric, Chad, can you show something, or maybe that's the next webinar?
Yeah, maybe that's the next webinar. But it, let's say, I'm in the notebook and I need hey, I can write into Copilot like, hey, I need to do something like this. It will give you the Python code that I could take that snippet and put in my notebook. And when I work with the SQL endpoint within the warehouse, I can ask questions about writing a SQL statement, with select with group by and this and that, and it would just format it for me, and I just copy and paste it and run it without having to remember all the syntax.
So it seems similar to other tools, right? Like Cursor, that you could give a prompt and it will generate code for you, and then you can tweak it and use it, I guess.
Exactly, but like I said earlier, it cannot look at your PDF file in your SharePoint. I mean, it's not there, right?
Right. Okay. All right. Any more questions?
Okay, so we actually have Srini. Srini wanted to answer this question. Srini, please go ahead.
Not to answer, Sushil, I just wanted to mention to Chad that, Chad, I think the questions are to do with data in Fabric, not to do with how to create it using Python or SQL. I think all the questions that people are asking are, I already have my data in Fabric, so can I use Copilot just like how I use it in maybe Power BI to query the notebooks, etc. for my data, not really Python or SQL.
Right. Now I've used some of that. Let's say I have within Power BI, I can ask questions. Now, in order to ask those questions, you gotta build the measures, right? You gotta do a lot of, quite a few setup within your semantic model, and then you can ask the questions. But it's pretty prescriptive. It's not it's not as intelligent as a, OpenAI or Copilot kind of deal, right? You can ask some basic questions like, hey, what is my sales, for this customer for the, using this one table. It can do some simple like that, but any more sophistication than I would not trust the answer. That's the
okay. I
truth.
think we had just one more question came up about workflow, right?
Yes.
How does
Yes.
Fabric support workflow patterns? So when I think about this Fabric support workflow pattern, I'm thinking about the ETL process, right? The extract, transform, and load the data. So Fabric has a I guess an artifact called like a pipelines, and within the pipeline you can stitch together, or you can organize you can organize your notebook. You can you can organize your store procedures and data flow gen to, with condition like, hey, when one step is complete, let's trigger another one and passing the data from one place to another to to execute. And within that pipeline, you would have you can have variables, you can have loop, right? If you have a library of 100 of files and we want to loop through it, there's the activity that you allow you to do that. So I mean, in terms of the number of tools, it's pretty rich, and that's when I hear the word workflow pattern, that's what I'm thinking about, unless it's meant by something else. And as far as kind of user workflow, and where do they find the data, and how do I know what data to use like that? Like I showed earlier, right? We have the data workspace with access for certain people, the developer and the. But if you're a viewer, you don't have access to the data, but you have access to the sandbox and the main, so you can view the reports. So we can control how people access the data and use the data based on the role that they have in these 80 groups. So yeah. Next question.
I think what we can do is, we know the questions that are being asked. So after that, we will kind of, maybe engage on a one-on-one, so we can ask your questions specifically also.
And then one more thing I want to touch on. So earlier I showed you the different 80 groups at the workspace level, but within workspace we got items, right? And the items of the lakehouse, the warehouse, and the semantic model. And even at that level, you can assign, access to certain groups as well. And I don't know if you noticed that, but in my Excel spreadsheet, I have I show the item, right? And then for that item, I can give access to the data scientist group, right? So they don't see the workspace, but they can actually see the artifact. So they can create their own thing. And then within the warehouse and the semantic model, if you have certain columns, table, or even rows that you want to lock up and giving people access, you can also take advantage of that as well, right? So, at the workspace level, at the items level, and even at the row, columns, tables level as well.
Yeah, there is a question on chat about GDPR compliance. I don't know if you have any comments on that.
So with the so in order to do things like that, you got a license like a Microsoft product called Purview, which is integrate really well with Fabric. And within Purview, you can define the different sensitivity labeling, data masking, data protection, even downloading the data. You can even lock that data also. And in terms of personal type of data, like Social Security and business tax ID and things like that. within Purview, there's some functionality that will protect and mask those type of data. So yes.
And there could be a whole webinar on Purview. So yeah,
Yes,
so you may want to look into Microsoft Purview, and it has a lot of good governance and security features. Yeah. All right. I think we can take 2 more minutes for the full hour. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, but Purview is basically your classic DLP and categorization. But for GDPR, you may not be able to use certain data if you're asking a question overall, say from the US, but you may be required to provide that data if it's a question coming from a European country. So the same data can be used for one answer on the one hand with GDPR, but can't be used for another answer on the other hand.
Interesting.
So I haven't seen Purview be able to handle where the data classification changes depending on who is asking it and what they're asking it for.
Yep. You are absolutely
So that is
right.
a limitation.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for that feedback. So again, thank you everyone for staying over. Really glad that you found the content useful. We will send the blueprint document using which you can start implementing your Fabric instance. Yeah, there was a question about Copilot. I think we will send an invitation to the Copilot webinar to everybody who attended today's webinar. We'll focus on building agents using Copilot. And we also have a special POC offer where if you need help navigating Fabric, let us know, and we are more than happy to help you implement, whether it's AD groups, Lakehouse, Warehouse, everything that Jack talked about. Happy to work with you on that. With that, again, thank you, everyone. We really appreciate your time. All right.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Bye. Have a good day.
Bye-bye.
Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.